Welcome to my audit lab. This is Hamza. I was recently asked by a client company to advise on the state of their ERM universe. So let's shift from audit for a few episodes and share some insights for our cousins in enterprise risk management. Back in the day, risk assessments were all about impact and likelihood, two simple dimensions that made prioritization fairly straightforward. But modern risk environments demand more depth. The reliance on interdependencies, time to impact, volatility, and velocity has increased 200 to 300% in just the last half a decade. Take interdependencies, for example. Imagine you're a global manufacturer in 2019, assessing supply chain risks. You'd likely evaluate the probability of supplier failure and its direct impact on your production. Fast forward to today, and your analysis would need to account for interdependencies, how disruptions cascade through secondary and tertiary suppliers, labor markets, and even geopolitical tensions. Remember the semiconductor shortage in 2021? That wasn't just a supply chain issue. It rippled across multiple industries, from automotive to consumer electronics, showing how interconnected these risks have become. Then there's time to impact. Consider cybersecurity breaches. In 2019, companies often measured cyber risk based on just likelihood and potential damage. Today, they must also assess how quickly a breach would affect operations. The time between a ransomware attack and operational shutdown can be mere hours. Organizations now prioritize rapid detection and response, factoring in how much time they actually have before a breach brings everything to a halt. Volatility and velocity have also become critical. Think financial markets. When inflation spiked post-pandemic, organizations had to assess not just whether price volatility was a risk, but also how fast those fluctuations could impact procurement, wages, and customer demand. A slow-moving risk gives leaders time to react. A fast one requires immediate action. These expanded dimensions mean risk assessments are no longer static checklists, but dynamic models of real-world complexity. Risk used to be like an annual health check. Once a year, thorough review, and then you'd move on. Maybe a rare quarterly check-in just to make sure everything was as boringly as expected. But today's world demands something more like continuous health monitoring, practiced 3 times more than it used to be in 2019. Take the pandemic as an example again. In early 2020, companies that had just completed their annual risk assessments were blindsided by the rapid escalation of COVID-19. Those that quickly adapted by implementing rolling assessments, some even shifting to monthly or continuous monitoring, had a significant edge. They could reassess workforce availability, supply chain resilience, and cash flow projections to near real time. Another example, the banking sector. Interest rate hikes in 2022 forced financial institutions to reassess lending risks far more frequently. Banks that traditionally updated their risk models annually had to shift to monthly risk assessments to keep up with changing borrower profiles and economic conditions. The shift from moment in time to continuous assessments isn't just a trend, it's a necessity in today's volatile risk landscape. Now here's where things get really interesting. If risk assessments in 2019 were like reading a map, today they're more like using GPS with real-time traffic updates, with over 50% of the best companies adopting tech to guide their risk assessments. Data and analytics have transformed risk assessments from educated guesses to precise calculations. For instance, companies in the retail sector now use real-time sales data, weather forecasting, and even social media sentiment analysis to predict and mitigate supply chain disruptions before they happen. Then there's cybersecurity as always. Previously, IT risk assessments relied on compliance checklists. Now, AI-driven security analytics detects anomalies across vast datasets, predicting breaches before they occur. Companies like Microsoft and Google use behavioral analytics to flag unusual login patterns, preventing potential security incidents in real time. A major application of analytics is risk quantification. Insurance companies, for example, now use AI to analyze satellite imagery and climate models to better predict and price natural disaster risks. This level of risk quantification allows them to estimate total exposure with far greater accuracy than traditional methods. New tools like predictive modeling software, machine learning algorithms, and automated dashboards make it possible to quickly process enormous amounts of data, turning risk assessments from a subjective exercise into a precise science. In just 5 years, risk assessment has gone from a structured but somewhat static process to a multidimensional, continuous, data-driven function. Leaders today need to evaluate more complex interdependencies, move faster in responding to risks, and leverage advanced analytics to quantify exposure more accurately than ever before, needing far more effort and precision and resulting in far more escalations to the executive and to the board. But don't worry if that sounds overwhelming. In our next episode, we'll dive deep into risk quantification techniques and how to apply them effectively in your organization. So, what's been your biggest challenge in adopting to modern risk assessment? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to share these insights from my audit lab with those who may need them. Stay sharp and keep auditing.